Hello everyone, welcome to the SocaMom Summit. My name is Eden Wilson. I am Miss Chicago's Outstanding Teen, and I'm a vlogger. I'm at Lemonerdy on all social media platforms, including TikTok. So today we'll be talking about how kids and young people can use their video skills like on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, along with storytelling techniques to make an impact on their community. Today, Kafi Kareem is here to talk to us about how to do that and how to make sure we can get our messages out there. Welcome, Kafi. Can you please introduce yourself, your company, and tell us where you're from?
Hi, Eden. Thank you so much for having me at the SocaMom Summit. My name is Cathy, as you mentioned, and I run a company called Storyplay Media. So you can find out more about my company by looking for us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Storyplay TV. But you can also find our work at storyplay.tv. We have lots of videos there for children of all ages. So what else did you want to know? I feel like I skipped something in that first question. Did I hit everything?
Where are you from?
Where am I from? That's an important question. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is an island in the Caribbean. And we are actually the southernmost island in the Caribbean, right off the coast of Venezuela. And that's where I was born and raised.
Hey, Trini girls. Okay.
Yay, Trini!
Why is it important for us kids to tell our stories, especially now?
Whew. So as you know, we are living in some very challenging times. We are facing a viral pandemic. So we have biological issues that we're dealing with. We have social issues that we're dealing with. Right now, Black Lives Matter is in all of our minds because of the devastating things that are happening with police killings. We have environmental challenges. So in every part of our lives right now, even though there's lots to be grateful for and there's lots to be happy about, there are some real challenges that I know that kids and teens out there are experiencing and seeing and feeling the consequences of. So because of those challenges, now is a really important time to be telling your stories and telling the world how everything that's happening impacts you and your community. Because storytelling is a way to reach people and encourage them to make a change. There are people out there who have either the power, the knowledge, the money, the resources, or the connections to be able to make a difference. And hearing from you about why change needs to happen is one of the most effective ways to encourage people to make that change. And sometimes the people that you're looking to encourage are yourself and your peers, right? Because you have power too. You have the ability to come together and make real change. But if you're not able to express why change needs to happen, it can be difficult to know, how to start. So it's not only about expressing why change needs to happen, but how to make change, because you yourselves have great ideas about how you can be making a change in your community. And to get those ideas out there, you need to be able to tell powerful stories.
So with all of these different challenges going on, Black Lives Matter, our environment, how do we choose the story that we want to tell?
Start with what matters most to you. Listen to yourself. So listen to your heart. So when you look around your community, you might be overwhelmed. As you said, there's so many issues. Where do I start? But if you think about the issues and you think about which one is closest to you, when you really, sit with it, which one makes you feel most, which one do you respond to most in your heart? I think that's the story that you want to tell. You want to tell the story that you care the most about. And sometimes what you care most about is the story that you think needs the most attention, right? So maybe you care a lot about health and the environment. But then when you saw what happened to George Floyd, you decided that even though I have a lot of interest in health and the environment, what needs the most attention right now is Black Lives Matter. And so that might be what you decide that you want to put your emphasis on, even though you have other interests. So I would say, look at those two things. What's closest to your heart, and what do you think needs the most attention? Sometimes they're going to be the same as you, and sometimes it might be different.
That is some really great advice. I know it's going to be a lot of people who are trying to figure out what they want to do to get their story out and help protest for Black Lives Matter.
Right.
So when we're making these videos, what are some of the things that we need to keep in mind?
So you want to keep in mind that telling stories is really about making a connection. So sometimes we get lost in the technology or the form or the rules. And you're a vlogger, so you know that there's a lot of technology involved. There are a lot of things that you have to remember. And really, it's not about being perfect. What it is about making a connection. You see how you and me are talking and we're getting to know each other? It's really about Eden and Cathy connecting with each other, getting to know each other, learning what's important to each other. And then from that connection, you can inspire change. So I would say that's one of the most important things to keep in mind. You're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming to be honest, authentic, and to really make a human connection with another human being.
In order to connect with people, is there a special format that is most effective for storytelling?
Yes, definitely. You want to put people first. You don't want to start with a concept or a theory. You want to put people first. My main activity in my business is making movies. And in movies, you learn that there's a fundamental dramatic principle that brings together three elements. And the first of that element is a character. And all a character is a person who wants something. So when we talk about telling stories to make change, we want to start with a person or people who want something. And in this case, let's use Black Lives Matter as our example. You can talk about a Black child or a Black teen. We could say, let's for this example use Eden. So Eden wants Black people's lives to matter to police officers. That's your character and that's your want, right? So you start with a person who wants something. Eden wants police to care about Black lives. That's the first thing. The next thing that you introduce is a conflict, right? So what's the conflict? Eden wants police to care about Black lives, but unfortunately, in watching the news and paying attention to what's happening in her country, she realizes that there are some police who do not respect Black lives because they have been killing Black people. And so that's the conflict. The conflict is that I want people to care about Black lives, but some people don't. And so then the fun part is you get to dream up what's the resolution, right? So that's the third part. The first part is the character. You're going to put people first. The second part is the conflict. And the third part is how do we solve this conflict? And you get to dream that up for your resolution to this story, right? So your resolution is going to look at how can the world be better? How can we make a change? What steps do you think need to happen? Or sometimes it's a question because sometimes you may not know, right? So it's like, maybe it's a question about how can we make change? What do you guys think? Where do we start? But your resolution is really about imagining a better future when it comes to making videos for change, because remember what our aim is to make a better world, right? So our resolution is going to either ask a question or it's going to paint a picture of what needs to happen. Or another way that you could end your story is by showing what actually happens now to make people feel sad or to make people feel empathetic. Because if you show what actually happens because of the problem, you can pull on people's emotions to be able to want to make a change. And that's what it's all about. It's about making a connection to want to make a change. So you start with a character, you put people first, and then you make sure that you introduce a conflict. And then the third thing that you want to do is end with either a question or an imagination, or like a vision of a better future, or by showing what actually happens to make people sad. Because if people are sad enough and they empathize enough with the problem, then they'll want to make a change. So those three elements come together. I'll just repeat it one more time. Character, conflict, and resolution. And by character, all we mean is a person or people who want something.
So, Mommy, the question after this one is like kind of the same question.
I don't know. What is it?
What is the best way to decide how to tell the story?
I think she just did that one because she covered it. So can you say that for me one more time? It was character, and then what else?
A character, a conflict, and a resolution or an ending.
So once we have the three parts of the story, should we do first person or try to get people to play fictional roles?
That's a great question. It's all up to you. Fiction stories are a great way to get people interested in things. So if you choose to tell like a made up story where you bring in actors or you yourself play a role and you do a sketch, that's a great way to get eyes on the issue. But you can also tell a first person story. So whether you choose either way, it's possible to tell a very powerful and effective story that really connects with people and makes an emotional impact.
So you obviously have a lot of experience with making stories and getting your voice out there. So what is the most fun project you've ever worked on?
The funnest project that I have ever worked on, I'm working on it now. It's not done yet, but it's a feature film called The Caddy Club. And it's about these 4 12-year-olds who get in trouble with the police officer. But instead of sending them to like a youth detention camp or juvie, what he does is he sends them to a community service program that happens to be on, of all places, a golf course. So they go to this community service program at a golf course, and while they're there, the 4 kids discover a magical portal, and it takes them into a new realm where they get crime-fighting gifts. So they get superpowers, and then they come back into the real world and they fight crime. And it's called the Caddy Club. But they have to keep their crime fighting a secret, which is why they go on, they just pretend to be mild-mannered caddies working on the golf course, but they're actually crime-fighting superheroes.
Wow, I actually want to like read that story. So is it going to be like a video or like a book?
Well, we intend to make it a film. But the story can live in all sorts of forms. So we may eventually make comics. We may eventually, make it a book. But right now it's a film.
Wow, I'm like interested. Like I want to know more.
Good. That's what we want. Thank you for that feedback. So we're using Caddy Club to put a spotlight on things like police relationships with the community. The kids also happen to be like affiliated to people who belong to gangs. So we'll talk about gang activity through the movie, and we'll also talk about we'll use it as a way to put a spotlight on how we can make a change when it comes to like crime in our community.
So, I mean, obviously there are some really fun projects, and then we also have serious projects. So what project have you done that's made the most impact on your community?
I did a cartoon called Big Man Dan, and we used the cartoon to also develop a series of like PSAs. We used the characters from Big Man Dan to develop some PSAs. And the short and the PSAs were used to put a spotlight on some of the ways that violence affects our community. In Trinidad and Tobago, when you read the newspaper headlines, especially, well, of course, before the pandemic, when things got kind of quiet, but before that, when you read the headlines, you saw a lot of really, really sad things in regards to intimate partner violence, which is when, you know, a man and a woman live together, husband and wife, and there's violence between them. In regards to gang violence, like shootings, in regards to theft and all sorts of things, right? So we used Big Man Dan and the cartoon PSAs that we did alongside it to encourage people to discuss violence and some of the ways to solve it. And so what we were able to do is measure how many people responded, how many people we were able to reach, and we set certain targets about how many people we wanted to reach and how many people we wanted to discuss. And we made some really good, you know, headway with that. We exceeded some of our goals in terms of how many people we wanted to engage on a topic. And so that is definitely the project that I've done so far that has made the most impact.
That is a great topic to have a impact on, and I know there's like a lot of violence going on today, so I really hope that reached a lot of people and you got your message out well. So where can we go to learn more about how to tell effective stories?
Well, when you asked, I had a heads up that you were going to ask me that question. And so I started looking for resources, and I didn't find any that, well, I found one that was kind of geared towards kids, but I don't know if it's the best. So I'm going to put some resources up on storyplay.tv that teach how you can tell stories to make an impact. So stay tuned for that, and they'll be up on storyplay.tv.
Okay, cool. I'm actually happy that you saw a need and you were like, you know what, I'm gonna do it myself. And the community needs it, so I'm going to use my.
Eden, can I just take you and put you in my pocket and walk around with you so you can like just gas me up every day?
Yes.
Good.
So before we wrap up, where can we find you? What are you up to right now? And tell us how we can support you.
Okay, you can support me by following at StoryPlayTV on, if you're on Facebook. I know Facebook is for old people. So parents, if you're on Facebook, you can follow me at StoryPlayTV. Kids, I'm on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, which is also for old people, but that's okay. If you happen to be on Twitter, you can follow me there too. Follow us, stay tuned to what we have coming up. We'll share updates on all of our social platforms. And if you have any like feedback or questions, you can hit me up. My email is Cathy@storyplaymedia.com. So yeah, that's how you can support. Just follow us. And if you see anything that really resonates with you, share it. Share it with your friends and tell everybody about it.
Cool. I know I've been to your website and stuff. I've seen everything.
You're one of the stars of my website.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I am on your website. So everybody, go to their website. It's really cool, and they got some cool documentaries. They got a bunch of stuff.
And for any kids out there who are creating content, we would love to feature your work. So you can tag us when you create something, or you can email me, or you can tag Lemonerdy and say, I want to be on Storyplay TV too, just like you. And I'm sorry to put work on you, Eden, but
it's okay. I'll send them over to you.
All right, good. So if you want your work featured on Storyplay TV and you're a kid who's creating some fun stuff, just let me know, and I'll be happy to take a look at your stuff.
Thank you so much for joining us, Cathy.
No problem.
You had some great advice. I especially loved the 3 parts of the story. Make sure that you guys follow SocaMom Summit on all social media so that you don't miss any of the other sessions. Make sure you register, do all that stuff, and we will see you guys soon. Bye!